Am I audible? Can you confirm the chat window? Okay, okay. Hi Vamsi, I am Mandeep, and well, this is Fadi. Okay, so let's start the architecture. Okay, I think we already discussed about the course contents and everything. Okay, and let's start with the architecture. So you can see over here, this in this diagram, we have a postmaster process, and then there is a shared memory. Okay, there's a shared memory and a postmaster. These are the two important process: postmaster and shared memory. So postmaster is a process which is just like your, it's a master process, and it's just like your listener as well. Just like it's a listener process. Okay, because it listens the connection coming from the coming towards the database. Okay, so now let us see how does it does it. Okay, just a minute, just a minute, just a minute. uh, okay, okay, I've shared my screen once more. Okay, so any doubts you can put it on the chat window. So postmaster process act as a supervisor, it act as a manager as well, and it also listens the connection coming to the database. So somebody is connect to the database, it will connect first to the postmaster, and then the postmaster will hand over the connection to the shared memory. So now shared memory has three pools inside it. Okay, it's not very complex, it doesn't have multiple pools, but three pools, majorly three pools over here. So if any connection is coming in, it connect to the postmaster. So postmaster runs on a particular port number, and it is belong to one cluster, only on one cluster. Okay, assume I connect to pSQL and I put a query select star from EMP, any table I am taking, select star from EMP. Then what happens is, if somebody says select star from EMP, it connects to the postmaster, providing the port number, username and password, then database name. So postmaster authenticates everybody. Not only it just listens, but also authenticates all the connection to your coming to the database. It authenticates all the connections, and then it just hands over it to the shared memory. Okay, shared memory on the backend starts one process. Okay, not shared memory, even postmaster starts a process. Now this process is known as the known as the backend process, or also known as the postmaster process. So it starts a process and hands over it to the shared memory. Now it hands over the shared memory so that shared memory can take care. Okay, it hands over it to the shared memory, so shared memory should take care in the next. So just assume an example, when I'm doing a select statement. Okay, I'm doing a select statement. Now for the select statement, what happens, it goes to the shared buffers, and it finds for the table, that is EMP table, the name of the table is EMP. It finds that particular table, and might it belong to some particular schema also, right? So might be user is just like, maybe the schema name is Arnav or something like this, so I say select star from arnav.emp. So it will search that in the shared buffer. If it founds in the shared buffer, it is great. It is known, it would be a read from the cache. Okay, it would be a read from the cache. But if it doesn't find from the shared buffer, it will go to the data files. It will go to the data files and then it will going to read it. It will go to the data file and bring all the blocks to the shared buffers. Okay, it bring all the blocks to the shared buffer. Then it would be a expensive route, definitely, because it's coming from the hard disk. So these are the shared buffer containing the data from the data files itself. All the tables, indexes would containing in the shared buffers coming from the data file. Okay, in the same way, if somebody does an update statement, okay, everybody's a DB over here, or it's like people from the non-DB background as well? Can you confirm on the chat window? Because then I take it accordingly. Okay, Vamsi, Fadi, Amandeep, can you confirm on the chat window? You're a DB or how is it? Are you guys there? Okay. Okay, fine. So, okay, let's then work on the wall buffer also. The wall buffer is a buffer which is containing an uh, uh, which is containing the log entries. Okay, the okay. So Vamsi is not a DBA. Okay, Vamsi is not a DBA. Okay, Amandeep is also DBA, right? Okay, fine. So, anyways, then I think we need to tell you about the wall buffers as well. So, wall buffer, it contains the log entries, that is changes that are being made to your database. Okay, changes that are made to your database. So, just like I put a statement like update EMP, where set salary is equal to salary plus 100. Assume, okay, salary plus 100. So that means the salary is being salary is added by $100, assume. So there would be an old salary, there would be a new salary, and there would be employee numbers as well. So val buffer will contain the entry of the primary key and the old value and the new value. Now this is kind of a log entry, the log entry of any log book entry. Whenever the changes are made to the database, a log entry is done to the val buffer. Okay, so this is just an where it happens in every database. Okay, whenever a change happen, this is very needed for the backup and recovery task for your database, to recover your database in case of any failures. Okay, so this log entry which will contain your primary key is the identifier for your row. So primary key plus the old row and the new row. Okay, that would be in the val buffers. Now these val buffers are written to the val segments. Okay, val buffer are written to the val segments, and these write on an event which is the commit event. Okay, at every commit, val buffers will write to the val segments. Now there is a difference between Oracle over here is generally on the SQL prompt, generally commit we have to issue, but by default Postgres issues commit after each statement. If you don't want commit after each statement, you have to explicitly specify it. Okay, otherwise Postgres will commit after each statement. Okay, so shared buffer linked to the data file, val buffer linked to the val segments. Now there is a archive val, you can see a blue box. So all these blue blocks, blue cylinders, are the files on the disk. Okay, these are all the files on the disk. Okay, and on the green are the processes. Uh, Green are the processes. Okay, green are the processes, background processes that are running. Okay, and then is these yellow, the orange boxes are the pools or the caches in the memory. Okay, these are the caches in the memory. Okay. So now what happens is val segments will copy the data to the archive val. Okay, val segments will copy the data to the archive val. Okay, val segments will copy the data to the archive val. Okay. And how does it does it? It whenever this val segment gets full, whenever the file gets full, it will copy that file to the archive val. So this is not enabled by default, but this is enabled. You have to enable it, maybe. So this is just for the safety purpose. Maybe if you are looking to back up your database, to recover your database in later stages, then you perform this activity. You'll copy the val segments to the archive vals. Okay, after each one val file will be copied to the archive val file. Okay. And if you have enabled it, okay, if you have enabled it, now this is done in one more way. One more reason of doing it: val segment has some specific size. Okay, val segment has some specific size, like val segment can grow up to 1 GB by default. Okay, I can also set this size as well, but by default it grew up to 1 GB. Okay, val segment will contain the different files. Val segment one file size is 16 MB. So this is not the concept which is coming from Oracle. So this is a bit different concept. So 16 MB is the size of the file in the val segment, and file keep on it will keep on writing it. It will keep on writing it. So once the file is full, 16 MB, it go to the next file, next file, next file, next file, next file. Till what time? Number of files? Number of files should be total 1 GB. Okay, 16 MB divided by 1 GB. I don't know what's the count is, but somewhere around maybe 50, 60, somewhere around this. Okay, so it'll 1 GB divided by 16 MB, it will make that many of files in that val segment folder. And once that 1 GB is full, it will come to the first file and start overwriting it. It will start overwriting that files. So now, just because it will overwrite that file, so I need the backup of those files. So these files are later on being copied copied to the archival. Okay, so this is the concept of the archival. Then the concept comes of error log files. So error log file is the file which will contain the errors. Okay, not only errors, it will also contain all your warning messages, um, all kind of your warning messages, I can say, all kind of major structural changes happening to your database, just like you creating a new database. Okay, so this is important, right, to the database side, but not creation of a table, not inserting something, but yeah, adding of a table space. Table space is the collection of data files. Okay, table space is a collection of data files. So adding of a tables, that's an important event, right? So table space, any structural change that happening to the database goes all to the log files of the database. Okay, so it's this is the error log files you can call about, but it's not only the error, it's also contains some informational messages as well. Okay, then comes the processes on the left hand side. Okay, so processes are for doing for all these tasks. Okay, what are tasks? Just like writing of shared buffer to data files. Okay, this is also one task. Okay, and then writing of val buffers to val segments. Then there's also one task, so this is done by val writer. Okay, then there is writing of val segments to archive. This is also one type, this is done by archiver. Then writing of shared buffers to data file, this is done by database writer. So each process will have its different writer to do it. For writing to error log files, this is done by postmaster process, because postmaster is also a manager kind of process. So writing of all your error messages would be done by postmaster. That is run by the process which is known as the log writer. Okay, log writer, postmaster initiating it, but written by the log writers. So val writer, archiver, then log writer, background writer for writing of the data files. Now there is three more processes you can see which I have not discussed: check pointer, auto vacuum, and stats collector. So if you're already a DBA, you know that what is a stats is. But if you're not a DBA, then I tell you stats uh, is the collection of the information, metadata information of your tables. So what are the metadata information of the tables? Are just like number of rows of a table, where the table belongs to, what is the size of the table, uh, all such kind of cardinality of the table, all such data about the data. So about the data, so where the data is. Okay, one is the data, just like any of your table. Now 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 about your table, about your table means the size of your table, the number of rows of your table, the cardinality, the distribution of the rows in the table, what is the kind of data is there in the table. Such kind of information is being recorded by stats collector. Then check pointer is also an event. So check pointer is an event that occurs, that is a trigger that occurs, that will initiate the writing of shared buffers to the data files, shared buffers to the data file. That is the checkpointer event. Then there is one more auto vacuum process in the database. So auto vacuum process is a very important process in the Postgres database. Auto vacuum is a maintenance process in the database. What auto vacuum does is auto vacuum cleans up all the dead tuples from your database. So there is a concept of dead tuples in the Postgres. What does it means is whenever you are updating anything, the old row exists and the new row exists. Okay, old row will just like you update the salary, right now give an example of salary. So there would be something like old row, right? Something like an old row over here and something like a new row. So new row is the updated row and old row is something which was updated. So now Postgres doesn't delete that row, does not delete that. Even if I issue command like delete from emp, where where maybe name is equal to Scott or something, or name is equal, or employee number is equal to 100, it will not physically delete that row. It will mark it as delete. It will not mark it as delete in your buffers or in your data files, and auto vacuum process go and physically delete them. Okay, so in Postgres it is a two-way process. Okay, because it needs to keep the old data for some time. Okay, it needs to keep the old data for some time. The reason one is that. The second reason is it does not want it to do so, like somebody is deleting it to make the process more faster. It is marking at delete, and that's it. It mark not physically deleted and giving you back that it is done. Okay, and then it will make it more faster also. Okay, updates also become faster, delete also become faster in this way. When you are not physically updating anything, you're just inserting a new row, and also you are not deleting it physically. So it doesn't deletes physically and doesn't updates physically. In update, it inserts a new row, which is the updated row, and marks the previous rows as deleted row. Okay, and the rows which are marked as deleted are known as the dead tuples. It is clear? Any doubt? Then you can let me. This is the most important actually architecture. We will not be coming back to architecture again. Yes, Vamsi. The shared memory is for all the database on the cluster. Okay, is for all the, so this memory, these all processes, these are shared for all the databases in the cluster. Okay, this doesn't belong to one particular cluster. This will belong to all the databases in that cluster. Okay. Okay, so now is the, I think I'm just going through is I think this is just like what I already covered this through points. Okay, so postmaster is the parent of all processes. This I'm going through the bullet points so that if anything is missed, then maybe that this can be covered. Is the postmaster is the parent of all process. By executing the pgctl utility, a Postgres process starts up, then it allocates a shared area in the memory, starts various background processes, starts replication associated. So Postmaster is the master process. Okay, so it is doing all the kind of stuff. Okay, is starting the memory, it is allocating the memory, starting the background processes, starting the replication if replication is configured. Okay, whenever receiving a connection, it starts a backend process or a Postgres process, and it hands over to the shared memory. So postmaster process listens to one network port, and the network port is 5432 by default. Okay, by default it is 5432. Okay, but definitely you can change the port number later on once you create it. Next comes the Postgres process. The Postgres process, which is just started by a postmaster process, right, to handle the client. So it communicates the client by a single TCP connection using semaphore shared memory and terminates when the clients get disconnected. That just means is it will take some memory also, right, in the shared memory, whatever this process is. So number of, if there are 100 connections, so there will be 100 Postgres process. Okay, but it will terminate once the connection is lost. Okay, but it is allowed to only connect to one particular database. So database in a cluster is the logical division within a cluster. But don't make any number of databases, okay, because one connection cannot talk to multiple database. Okay, okay, if you really want to make a logical division, better to make a division within one database. Okay, uh, within one database you can have multiple schemas. Okay, but don't make multiple database until and unless you there is real need, and you later on you want to combine. There is no possible, like, possibilities there you can combine, like just like you want to make a joint statement. Okay, you cannot make a joint statement across your databases. Okay, so it is, they are not linked to each other. They are only, entities are different on the physical level, they are different. Maybe on the memory level everybody comes to the uh, maximum connection is at the cluster level. Okay, so it's everybody comes to the shared memory. Okay, everybody will come to the shared memory. So Postgres allows multiple connection to database simultaneously. The configuration parameter max connection defaults to the control the number of clients at a time. You can have maximum as 100 connections. Okay, that is 100 connection is by default, but you can change this parameter as well later on. Okay, so vacuum, I'm leaving off vacuum right now. Maybe vacuum we can do it later on when once the vacuum will chapter will come up. So these are all the list of processes which we discussed. Background writer is writing shared buffer pool to the more persistent storage, that is hard disk and SSD. Checkpointer is a trigger which initiates the writing of dirty write. Can we restrict? Yes, restrict means can you want to reduce the number of connections, we can reduce the number of connection. You want to increase the connection, we can increase the connection. Okay, these are in our hands. We can say only 10 connections come to the database, we can set alter system set max connection is equal to 10. Only 10 connection maximum will come to the cluster at a time. Okay, if more than 10 come, it will give the error. Okay, so okay, so people who are Oracle DBAs, I think just want to make you understand this is not as feature rich. Okay, don't assume there is a resource consumer group and each process will, each database you can assign it to some resource consumer group. You can restrict CPU usage, you can restrict hard disk usage or IO usage. There is no such thing right now. Okay, there is no such thing right now. There is no resource consumer group concept as of now in Postgres 11 or 12, maybe in the newer version in 9.13, which is just released in the more the beta stage. Okay, but right now there is no such resource consumer group kind of concept. Okay, still in the development phase, I would say. Still it's growing actually, every year it is growing. Okay, so these are the all background processes that are running. Background writer, checkpointer is a trigger process. Auto vacuum is a process that is just removing your, why we known as auto vacuum, because automatically it runs. Okay, we need not to initiate it manually. Okay, we can initiate it manually as well, but by default in the background also it is running, every minute it is running, removing all the dead tuples. So background writer, PGRAP for logical replication, there is one more process which is used for replication. It is also started, but if replication is not configured, then it is anyways not working. Okay, not working. Then there's a val writer to write the val data. Then the static is collected to write the statistics data. Statistics data is not only about the statistics of your tables, but also for the database as well. What are the sessions that are coming in to the database? How much memory they are taking? Kind of all such kind of also being in the statistics information of the database. Okay, archiver is to write the archive process. Okay, Then is the local memory area. So one is we understand is the shared memory. Now shared memory area which is shared among all the processes. Then there will be a local area as well for each process. So each process, if I say 100 connection, then there would be 100 work memory area or 100 local area. Each process or maybe each session with it coming to the database is a kind of an uh, each process will have its own work memory as well. So each work memory is the operation which is local to its local means this that area would not be shared by another session. So what does this area do? This area will do the order by clauses. This area will be helpful in the order by clauses. This area will be helpful in the distinct operations, and this area will helpful in the merge join and hash join operations. So all kind of sorting information sorting kind of is done by. So this is the last pool in which the database would be configured. Okay, the sessions generally will go to this pool before reaching to the user session. Okay, before reaching to the user session, this will go to this pool. That is the work memory. Okay, then there is a work maintenance work memory. So maintenance work memory is not a mandatory pool. This will only be utilized in case there is a re-index or a vacuum operation. What is a auto vacuum or a vacuum operation are being performed? If you are doing a vacuum operation manually, then this memory pool will be allocated, otherwise will not be allocated. Temporary buffer is for storing your temporary kind or temporary tables. Okay, this will also be local to your session. So if I say 100 sessions or 100 connection in the database right now, then there would be 100 work memory area. Okay, work memory area would be mandatory. Okay, maintenance work memory area would only be there with I am doing any maintenance operation, otherwise will not be allocated. Okay, then is the maintenance one temporary is for only when if I'm creating any temporary table, then only it will be utilized, otherwise will not be utilized. Okay, so then is the shared buffer. We discussed shared buffer is something where we contains the data or the data files which is there in the data files and indexes, and then is the val buffer which is containing the log entries, the changes which are you making it. So full form of val is write ahead log. Okay, the full form is write ahead log. Then is the commit log. Commit log is one more pool in this memory area. Okay, shared memory area, that is containing the sequence of the commits that are happening in your database. Okay, keep the states of all the transactions, what all transactions in your database. Okay, what are in the running stage, what is committed, what is not committed. Okay, these are all being in the commit log, all your running transactions. Okay, so next on the database cluster. Okay, so database cluster, any doubts till now? Maybe I'm going fast, slow, you can just let me know. Okay, no doubt. Okay, so database cluster. So database cluster, So database cluster is the collection of database that is managed by the Postgres server. So one database cluster is about all this we run, right, shared memory and all these pools. Okay, that means is one cluster. One cluster is supporting all those kind of shared memory. So below is the default database that is created, template 0, template 1. So these are all the default databases that are being created in the database. Okay, template 0 and template 1, you need not to touch the databases, but template 0 would be anyways read-only database. Template 1 and Postgres you can work on. Okay, you can work on. So whenever your new databases is created, then it will create it from the template 1. Okay, what does it means is that if any changes you want to make to your just like how your new database should be. Okay, how your new database should be, it would be more dependent on your template 1. Okay, so template 1 will just copy the database from this template 1. Your new database will copy it from the template 1. Okay, so then there would be a Postgres where you can directly use and work on the Postgres database. Okay, each database would be internally managed by OID, that is object identifier. Okay, and these each database OID would be there in stored in the PG database and PG class. So each database will have its identifier, this object identifier, and each and you can create any number of database, but directly you can work on Postgres database as well. But generally when you go in the professional front, then maybe training purpose you can work on the Postgres, but actually the name of the database Postgres doesn't look good, so you need to create a new database and you work on that particular database. Okay, anyway, so the database is not getting utilized, is not doing any, not wasting our resources, kind of, right? So these are the three databases which would be by default created. Okay, template 1, template 0. Template is the name given because it is just a template. So when you just assume in your organization you want to have some 2 3 specific tables. Okay, table 1, table 2, table 3, assume. So now I create these tables in template 1. Okay, because whenever my new database would be created, would be copying the data from the template 1. Okay. Okay, so this is the architecture at the cluster level, at the memory level. This is the architecture. Then architecture at the physical level. The physical level architecture is that each file will have its own, each table will have its own file. Okay, each table will have its own file in the database. That is the table level architecture. Each table, each index, each object will have its own one particular file. Okay, these file would be contained in the table spaces. So table space is the logical connection of files. So by default the table space would be only one table space for data files. So by default there is only one table space, so that will containing all the data files. Okay, for all the files of your particular tables and indexes. Okay, we'll do, once we do practically, then maybe it would be more understandable then once you do it practically. Okay, so data files, each table will have its own file, each index will have its own file. Maximum size of each file would be 1 GB. So if your table is containing more than 1 GB of data, then it will just assume the name of, there is a table EMP we discussed, right? The file, the file node is 100, right? So the file would be created would be 100.1, 100.2, 100.3. First file would be created would be 100. Now if the size increases than 1 GB, then it becomes 100.1 and then 100.2. In this order it will work on. Okay, so now data file is further divided into blocks. Okay, these blocks, the size of each block is 8 KB. Okay, and these blocks are also known as page, also known as a page. So if file has to be filled up, Postgres adds a, if file has to be Postgres adds a new empty page to the end of the file to increase the file size. Okay. Internal layout of the page. So now each time when you keep on adding the data, the blocks keep on increasing. Okay, blocks keep on increasing, and the file will go up to 1 GB. Okay, so the internally it is physically it is as a block. Okay, block number is just an address for each file. Okay, so each file would be divided into blocks and each block would be 8 KB. Also blocks, it is blocks, but in Postgres term it is known as pages. Okay, So then is the free space map and the visibility map. Now each block, now the block can be in heap tuple, line pointer, and header data. So that means that this is the internal layout of a table. So internal layout of table is it is divided into tuple, which will heap tuple. That means it will contain the data of data, and then there is a pointer, which is pointer from your header data. So header data will contain the information, what kind, like the address. Just assume whenever you reaches any home, right, any society, that society will contain information header data that whoever resides into that particular society, right? So each will contains in the same way, each table on the header will contain an header data, what all rows contain in that. Okay, what are rows are contained in that, that is the header data, then would be the actual rows contained into it. So there should be some entry, right? Whenever some queries a table, then it cannot search a complete table in the first hand. It should first at least get to know from the header that what all rows are containing into it. And rows have an address that is known as a TID, that is known as the tuple identifier. TID is the tuple identifier, which will contain the block number and the offset number. Okay, that is the row ID. Row ID is the address. Okay, that is the address. Now to support this table, we have two additional files that are being created, that I will show you physically once we install the database. I will show you how these files are being. So assume the table is 100, right? And then in addition to 100 file, there would be two files more created. So that these two files would be underscore fsm, underscore fsm, and underscore VM. So underscore FSM will contain the information about what I say, underscore FSM contain the file system space. That is the what are the free spaces available in the database. Free spaces information will contain in the FSM, and visibility map is the visibility space. Free space means what all rows, what all in that particular table rows are free, that are deleted now, or they are free. Okay, that is in the FSM. VM is the visibility map. So VM will contain the list of block number that needs to be vacuumed. Okay, that visibility map is the number of the list of block numbers that needs to be vacuumed, so that whenever the vacuum process comes in, he knows which blocks to be or need to be vacuumed, that are dead tuples. Okay, so that is this is for the uh, visibility map. Okay, so visibility map is containing the list of block number that need to be vacuumed. Free space map will contain the list of blocks that are free, where you can go and insert the data. Okay, so these are the two supporting files to this. Okay, so this is about the architecture for the Postgres, and the definitely the next class would be the installation of the Postgres database and installation of the cluster of the Postgres. Then I will show you the files and what all are there in the Postgres. Okay, any questions, Mamsi, Amrinder? Any questions, guys? Okay, fine, fine, Mamsi. Okay. can go through the architecture once more, listen the video once more, then you can ask the question. Okay, so let us continue tomorrow, from tomorrow on, for the installation of the Postgres. Okay, okay, okay. Thanks all for joining.